voice. And whoop, there we go. Recording in progress. So we were talking about our friend who is again a medical doctor, and she has many publications. But the lead researcher said, "You got to do something about that vocal fry." Because she's a young medical doctor and she talks a lot with a vocal fry. And so that was very interesting because he was an older lead investigator. And we know there is even research saying if you're above age 35, then vocal fry is annoying to you. But those younger, vocal fry is an aspect of upward mobility. So you're special and on your way to be famous if you're younger. So everything is coming together. I couldn't believe we talked about that story this morning. Elisabetta Rosa is not only going to talk about vocal fry, but one of my other favorites, as you know, inspiratory phonation. So I love the inspiratory phonation. I love my version called the Sing Hail, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about our wonderful expert. She has been a speech language pathologist since 2005. She is a professional singer, jazz, gospel, CCM for almost 10 years, and currently a voice teacher mostly for contemporary commercial music singers. In the last 22 years, she's been teaching renowned music schools in Milan, and now she only gives lessons in her private studio near Milan. Last year, she was vocal coach for the X Factor Italy, and in 2019, she coached Damiano David of Manskin during their first live tour. Oh my gosh, love them. I first met she first met EVT. I've known Elisabetta for a while in 2000 and attended Joe's last Italian live seminar in Modica in 2001. Elisa Turla has been her mentor, and she became an EMT in 2008. She chose to enroll in university at age 41 because of Vestal voice training. She fell in love with studying voice, anatomy, physiology features, and she wanted to unravel more mysteries about the sounds we're able to make when speaking and singing. She is an adjunct professor at the University of Bologna and at Conservatory of Milan, teaching for the subject Esto voice training application in managing voice disorders. And guess what? Her new book is ready, Pronti con la voce. And I'm proud to turn it over to Elisabetta Rosa, or should I say, Elisabetta Rosa.
Thank you so much, Kim, for your wonderful presentation, for your wonderful introduction. Sorry, and I'm very, very, very honored to be here and uh, to have been invited to for this speech. And I'm uh, I'm aware of the responsibility that I have, and so I'm a little bit nervous, but I will try to do my best. So, thank you very much, Kim, for inviting me. Thank you for all the staff for your kindness and your help. So, yes, we will talk about inspiratory vocal fry, of course. And uh, now I hope that you can see my slides. But before I go deep into this topic, I want to surely introduce the team of uh, that is behind this research. That is, um, we were five persons, five people. Um, I apologize for my English. I can understand nearly well, fairly well, but I don't, I don't, I'm a little bit out of how do you say? Help me.
Out of
Anyway,
practice, but
yes, out
you
of
are
practice.
doing wonderfully, and it's hard when everybody's on one screen. We are with you, Elisabetta. You're
Thank
doing
you.
fantastic. Call out anytime.
Thank you so much. And moreover, I can't see anyone, so I'm speaking to a screen. It's not really, it's not wonderful. Anyway, it's I I accept it, and we go on. The team, you can see in this picture, there is Dr. Nico Paolillo, who is a ear, nose, and throat specialist, and he is very passionate about voice, and he's a wonderful singer too. And then these two young guys were two uh, fresh, newly graduated speech and language pathologists that were doing much work. And then there is another doctor that isn't in this picture, that is a physiologist that helped us with electromyography examinations. Here in this picture, you see we are very proud. Matteo Scalabrin was very proud because he won the Best Paper Award in 2018 at the Voice Foundation Symposium in Philadelphia. So, and we are very proud because our study, our pilot study, was published on the Journal of Voice, was accepted for publication on October 2019 and published on May 2021. So, how it all began? It began by chance. So we can call it serendipity if you like it, because it was more or less 2010. No, sorry, it was first earlier. It was 2010 we began the research, but maybe 2 or 3 years earlier, I was laughing, and then while I was uh, while I was taking my air in, I made a strange sound, and I really, in that moment, I was astonished because I realized that that sound was very similar to vocal fry, to the slag mess, that I already knew because I was studying with Elisa Turla um, for my exam, for my EMT exam. And so, while after the laugh, I made that sound, and I realized that it was very similar to the Slack mess. And so I talked to Elisa Turla and asked her if she knew that someone used it, and she told me that maybe she heard that some singer about I don't know if you call it like that, extreme singing. It's okay, like growl. Sorry, I have to drink some water. I don't know how you name it in English.
Yes, yes. Sometimes they call it extreme. Uh, that is exactly right, Elisabetta.
Okay. And but while I was trying and experimenting myself that sound, I I found out that it was very much uh, it gave me a lot of help when I wanted to warm up the voice, and it was very useful also in cooling up my voice after I had sang. Um, And so I began trying it more and more. And then I proposed it to some of my teaching students, my singing students, sorry. And it was effective on everyone. And so I was so excited about that. And since I was beginning to to see patients in my voice studio, in my voice therapy cabinet, I began using it not in the first sessions of the therapy, but in the last sessions when we had already achieved our goals, our in the rehabilitation. And so I suggested that technique to keep the voice in shape. And it was working. It was working. But so in this slide, you can see my practical findings. And there was also a sensation of release in voice, of freedom. And it also had a calming effect on the performer, maybe because of this inspiration. So the diaphragmatic movement had to slow down, and it gave an immediate feedback of cleaner, lighter, and more resonant voice. So I began asking myself why it was so effective, but I couldn't find any answer. So in 2010, I spoke to Dr. Paulillo, and I asked him if he could tell me why this um, technique was so effective on voice. And he answered me, well, I think we have mm, to put up a study. And so our research began, and we set up a pilot study that was carried out in a private medical office, because in Italy, the situation is a bit complicated for research. And sometimes I hope that I were in US, but I'm in Italy. So Italy is a very beautiful country, but has some issues in, for instance, in researching financial aids and so on. So we had no financial aid. We had um, to put up all the things together with our strength. So our research began, and our hypothesis was that maybe there was a beneficial combination between vocal fry and inspiratory phonation. And in this study, our objectives were to clarify the anatomical and physiological aspects of inspiratory vocal fry. We named it inspiratory vocal fry for the time, and to better understand the effects on spoken and singing voice, and to suggest a rationale of its implementation in therapy protocols for voice disorders, and also how to use it in voice pedagogy and in professional singing. At the first uh, reading of the literature, we found no evidence of this kind um, of phonation, if let's say inspiratory phonation. So we all know, I think that we all know that the expiratory vocal fry is also called M0, mechanism 0, as we see in this graph from the famous study by Roubaud, Castellengo, and Henrich. And in our ST voice training, we call it slack mess, is the condition of vocal folds mess. vocal folds body cover body. And so as we try to investigate the background of expiratory vocal fry, we found that it's a voice register that occurs at frequencies below those of the mother register, that we have a shortening of the vocal folds of the thyroid muscles, and so we have a thickening of the anterior posterior dimension of the vocal folds. The laryngeal structures is thick and compact. There is not all the studies agree on this point, but um, mm, most studies agree that there is an increased subglottal pressure and reduced airflow passing through the vocal folds. And the vibratory patterns are associated with single, double, or triple opening and closing phases in one single cycle. So it's a bit chaotic. And there is, in vocal fry phonation, there is a higher value of contact quotient, that is the time that the vocal folds stay close together in one cycle, both for men and women. So in clinic and in pedagogy, expiratory vocal fry, so the usual vocal fry M0, has been used to treat hyperfunctional voice disorders, to tackle hypernasality in organic dysphonias, and in hypofunctional voice disorders too. So we have to we have two conflicting uses, yes, of this kind of phonation. And in pedagogy, there is much more confusion still. Some say that it is harmful for a singer's voice. Some say that it can extend the low range in baritone and basses. Some say that is healthy for artistic voice use, and it must be maybe used in voice, artistic voice. Some say that it has a lubricating effect because it stimulates the production of mucus. And others say that it has a clearing effect because it removes mucus from the vocal folds. So you can say that we had controversial findings and it was a bit confusing. Here we have a video of vocal fry, expiratory vocal fry. So we see that the vocal folds are really shortened and they are thick. And even if this is a stroboscopy, is not so it's not high-speed video, but we can see that the cycles are chaotic. As for inspiratory phonation, the literature review brought us to find that obviously inspiratory phonation is a sound produced during the air intake, and that has some natural moments too, but I didn't know when I left in reverse, in laughing and in crying and in sighing. There is an increase in subglottic pressure, and so there is a Bernoulli effect um, gives as a consequence the ventricles relaxation and a broadening of the laryngeal vestibule. So we have a reduction of, and we have a reduction of the contact between the vocal folds because we have the involvement of inspiratory muscles, such as the posterior cricoarytenoid and the cricothyroid muscles, which are antagonists of the adductor muscles. The vocal folds are lengthening, and the epiglottis has movement, as a forward movement. We also have a reduction in the contact of the false vocal folds and an increase in fundamental frequencies. There is a reduction in the arytenoid compression, and it's a maneuver that is used in laryngeal assessments because it allows a more precise and reliable diagnosis. In voice therapy, inspiratory phonation has been used to treat psychogenic aphonia, puberphonia, posterior glottal insufficiency, paresis, ventricular phonation and ariepiglottic phonation, spasmodic dysphonia, and even stuttering. And here we have a video of inspiratory phonation. So you can see that the vocal folds are stretched, and there is very few contact between the vocal folds during one vibratory cycle. So our pilot study, in our pilot study, we recruited 32 volunteers, 17 males and 15 females. Their age ranging from 20 to 56 years. They were all healthy and without voice complaints. They had no vocal pathologies. And our preliminary test was if they were able to sustain for a few seconds expiratory phonation, inspiratory phonation, expiratory vocal fry, and inspiratory vocal fry. Not all the subjects were able to produce inspiratory vocal fry at once. So we also began thinking about some facilitating techniques that I will explain later. So the first exam that we made in our study, at least I say we made, but I should be honest, and I should say Dr. Paolillo made, because he was um, the main actor of the study, of course. So there was a video laryngostroboscopy examination with three different phonations. Expiratory phonation, that it means usual phonation, modal phonation, expiratory vocal fry, and inspiratory vocal fry. And we were assessing three parameters: the false vocal folds adduction, the pharyngeal wall contraction, and the vocal folds stretching. And these parameters were evaluated by 4 examiners that were experts in voice and that were external to our team, and they were rated on a scale from 0 to 5. Two subjects were excluded from this analysis because they had very strong pharyngeal reflexes, and so the examination wasn't possible. And from this stroboscopic evidence, the most important findings were that during inspiratory vocal fry, the vocal folds adduction was significantly reduced, and also the true vocal folds were very much elongated uh, in comparison to expiratory vocal fry. And also that in expiratory vocal fry, we had a very, very high pharyngeal constriction, even in subjects that were able to do to some extent, is the subjects were able to do retraction of the folds, vocal folds, but the constriction was also present. Sorry, I'm a little bit tired, so sometimes I make a confusion. Was always present some constriction of the pharyngeal walls and of the false vocal folds. So we can see two video to compare expiratory vocal fry in the same person, the same subject. And this is the same subject, inspiratory vocal fry. So the difference is really huge. This is another comparison, and it's the same subject that performs a very constricted expiratory vocal fry. But in inspiratory vocal fry, the situation dramatically changes. Okay. Is it everything okay?
Wonderful. It's really super, Elisabetta. Really, really good.
Okay. Just a sip of water. So, our second examination was the electroglottography, which is a device that gives information about the closure of the vocal folds by measuring the electrical resistance between two electrodes that are put on the sides of the thyroid cartilage. So, in this examination, were evaluated expiratory phonation, inspiratory phonation, expiratory vocal fry, and inspiratory vocal fry. And were two parameters were taken into account, that are the contact quotient, that is the ratio between the duration of the vocal fold closed phase and the complete cycle, and the closing to closed quotient ratio, that is a parameter that describes the phases that vocal folds closing and opening in relation to the closed phase during a mean glottal cycle. And in this examination, 4 subjects were excluded because of some artifacts that had led to unrealistic measures. Then the third examination was electromyography. Only 3 subjects underwent electromyography, and it was done on expiratory vocal fry and inspiratory vocal fry. The muscles that we were analyzing was the medial thyroarytenoid and the lateral thyroarytenoid. And the parameter that was taken into account was the turns that are that describes the motor unit recruitment. I think that you know that this is a very annoying examination. Very sometimes it hurts very much.
Painful. Amazing.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's painful. Thank you for your suggestion. And so only one subject was compliant enough to fulfill mm, electromyography for both the medial and lateral thyroarytenoid muscles. And the other two subjects, one subject was only capable of resisting for medial thyroarytenoid muscle and the other for lateral arytenoid muscle. So now this slide I will show you, but I won't comment because as for statistic is for me is like Chinese language. So I don't understand. I am no expert in statistics. So I only know that a statistical analysis has been carried on. And but I can comment these graphs because I like colors and I understand colors. So as for false vocal folds adduction, we see in red uh, the results for for inspiratory vocal fry and in blue for expiratory vocal fry. These are sorry, I didn't clarify that these are the results um, regarding the video stroboscopies. So we see that inspiratory vocal fry has lower values and expiratory vocal fry has higher values as for false vocal folds adduction. And the significance, there is a significant difference between the two outcomes. As for pharyngeal wall contraction, the inspiratory vocal fry has something that is more values towards the zero, and expiratory vocal fry has more values, more higher values, higher values, and the significance is yes, as you see here, there is a significant difference between the two. As for vocal fold stretching, there is a higher significant difference. And as you can see here, because in expiratory vocal fry, there was very few elongation, very short elongation of the vocal folds, while in inspiratory vocal fry, there was a higher value of elongation in the vocal folds. And are the results of the electroglottography. What I could say that I can tell that there is a significant difference between inspiratory and expiratory vocal fry. These are the results for the closing quotient.
And
And these are the,
Elisabetta, I would just
yes.
like to say that this is one of the reasons you won an award as well. Not only did you hypothesize and design an elegant study, but the Bonferronis, the Italian, that Bonferroni correction you did for statistics, is so important because you have to multiply it by the number of tests, and a lot of researchers leave that out. And so it was significant not only in the high level of research and stats that you're presenting, but that is you like that is one of the reasons, again, that it was an award-winning paper, because that's amazing work and amazing stats. And because you can see a difference, but you have to see if they were, again, above the level of chance. And so when our trainers are reading papers, you may not want to look at this, but very important. And so congratulations. I just wanted to say, and for reporting those two. Awesome.
Thank you very much, Kim, because I don't know much about statistics, so you explained it so beautifully. Thank you so much for your help. And this is the electromyography. As I told you, only one subject, the subject one, could do the examination in the lateral thyroarytenoid and medial thyroarytenoid. So we see that in the medial motor units, the medial thyroarytenoid motor units were significantly more recruited in inspiratory vocal fry when compared to expiratory vocal fry, while lateral thyroarytenoid motor units were significantly more recruited in expiratory vocal fry than in inspiratory vocal fry. And this has a very important meaning in the application of the inspiratory vocal fry and expiratory vocal fry. So, as I was saying, when the medial thyroarytenoid muscle is more recruited in such as in inspiratory vocal fry, we have this kind of situation where the muscle and the ligament are just as one unique mass, and the cover can shift. There is a different phase difference between the two vibrations, and this kind of situation can gives a massage effect on the mucosal layer. While in expiratory vocal fry, we have the lateral thyroarytenoid that is highly contracted, while the medial thyroarytenoid is less contracted, is sometimes it is almost loosened, and there is a kind of movement of this structure altogether. So there isn't a prevailing mucosal massage in expiratory vocal fry, while in inspiratory vocal fry we have this massage effect. So in inspiratory vocal fry, there is reduced vocal folds, false vocal folds adduction, because there is a balance between the action of adductors and abductors, and there is a less hyperfunctional attitude in the larynx. There is a lower degree of pharyngeal wall contraction. So we have also a change in the set of the pharyngeal portion, not only in the laryngeal portion. There is a greater vocal fold stretching compared to expiratory vocal fry because of the contraction of the cricothyroid muscles. And so there is a elastic tension of the muscles and not hypertonic, hyperkinetic. The closed quotient values are higher because of the same elastic tension, but not too tight adduction between the vocal folds, and there is a reduced pressure gradient of air through the glottis. We also have higher close to contact quotient values because the moment, the time that the vocal folds come together and separate is longer in inspiratory vocal fry than in expiratory vocal fry, and probably this is one of the reason of the massage effect of this technique. So if we put in comparison expiratory vocal fry and inspiratory vocal fry, we see a lot of differences. In expiratory vocal fry, very often there is a contact between the true and false vocal folds that can bring inflammation. And as a tendency, the larynx goes higher, and with organic lesions, if it's not possible, it's not, how can I say, it's not possible to verify, to assess if a patient can perform expiratory vocal fry without false vocal folds constriction. And in Italy too, the difference in Italy between speech and language pathologists in US or in UK or in other countries is that in Italy we can't do stroboscopies. It is strictly forbidden for us. So we can't verify anything. We just can use our ears and our experience to judge if someone is constricted or not. So it's not safe to use it in case of organic lesions to the vocal folds. And of course, it's not safe in post-surgical treatments. While inspiratory vocal fry has, provided it comes from a synergy between the muscles of adduction and abduction, is much more, how can I say, is safer, is really safer, is lighter for the vocal folds movement, and as opposite to expiratory vocal fry, the larynx tendency is to go down, to be lower. And so we could say that it's safe in case of organic lesions of vocal folds, in case of dysfunctional dysphonias. And I can assess, I can testify that is very, very, very useful and very efficient, because it's, I think, at least, yes, 10 years that I use it in my clinic. And so I have wonderful results from this exercise. Another thing that I wanted to underline is that according to our study, inspiratory vocal fry is a different vocal registers than expiratory vocal fry, because it has different laryngeal muscle activity and synergies. And we saw also in electroglottography that we have huge differences between expiratory vocal fry and inspiratory vocal fry. So it is our it is possible that in the next years we could name it in another way than inspiratory vocal fry, maybe give it another name. But we choose to keep the name inspiratory vocal fry because of the perceptual characteristics of this sound. So we can see once more, if you want, the expiratory vocal fry and inspiratory vocal fry. And again, it is the same subject, so you can see the difference. So as I said, for voice therapy, it could be really useful and safe. What I suggest is always to use a wet gauze to put on the mouth or mouth and nose, because this exercise, in my experience, has only one negative side effect. That is, while we are inhaling air through the mouth, we are drying the mucosa. So if you can use a wet gauze on the mouth, you have no side effect, no negative side effect, but you have a positive side effect because you are hydrating your vocal folds while you are performing the exercise. So is double, triple, and quadruple uh, your effectiveness. Um, so usually I use it very much on dysfunctional dysphonias, but on organic dysphonias too can help to have a quicker resolution, for instance, of nodules or edemas. And in some cases, we had a complete, I don't know if you say in English, remission. Um, then I mean to say that that was a complete recovery from polyps. So is very I can testify that is very useful, and in post-surgical rehabilitation is very useful too in paralysis, and also for artistic voice rehabilitation. I use it always for warm up and cool down, and in the book that Kim was kindly talking about earlier, there is one chapter only on vocal fry, because we found that it is really crucial in preparing the voice to its use, and to have a cool down, defatiguating effect on voice. I don't know if it's right to say like this in English. And another use that is very peculiar but very, very, very effective is to use it during the performance, for actors or for singers, because for instance, between songs, obviously if you don't have the microphone near your mouth, you can between songs you can do, for instance, inspiratory vocal fry through your nose. Now we will see the facilitating techniques. And so nobody can tell that you're doing the exercise, but you are massaging your vocal folds. And in vocal pedagogy can be useful to reduce hyperfunctional attitudes and to help destructive bad habits of compensatory straining. This is my suggestion, because if some trainers want to try inspiratory vocal fry to help students, for instance, for smooth onset, since we have the vocal folds are thinner, are thinner, and so it can be of help um, if some student can has a difficulty in smooth onsets. Also in false vocal folds retraction, because in inspiratory vocal fry we have a kind of automatic retraction of false vocal folds. And as for body cover, I found it useful in obviously in teaching the slack condition, because sometimes in slack condition the mm, your students tend to constrict vocal folds, and maybe they are not still able to retract, and so this exercise can help them to have a perception, proprioceptive um, feedback of the of retraction. And also for when you're trying to teach thin vocal folds, because I found out that inspiratory vocal fry, as for smooth onsets, can be of help to for your students. So the other thing that can be interesting is to teach the wide area epiglottic sphincter condition, since in inspiratory phonation in general, not only in inspiratory vocal fry, we have moving forward of the epiglottis. But I think that Kim can confirm this too. And then another thing that can be helpful, that can be of help in using inspiratory vocal fry, is to teach the lower larynx, the low larynx. Okay, now I want to, I don't know. Oh, mamma mia, sono già le 9. Caspita. Sorry, I didn't look at the clock. Sorry.
Elisabetta,
Um,
it is wonderful. We are reading this. How many more slides do you have?
I think that it's it's ended.
Oh, it is perfect. And we know that you would be, or we would ask if you would be welcome to anyone who can email you a question in the future, because we have 2 minutes for questions. Well, and we probably can go five
Yes,
minutes longer, but this was fascinating, brilliant, and really interesting
thank you.
application of, again, training the entire voice. So I do you want to go, we can read this. Is there anything on this slide you want to highlight and then highlight on the last one, because I see this, I love it. We could
Yes.
probably even have a workshop, wink, wink, on this at the symposium
Yes, it could be
in
wonderful.
Vienna.
It would be wonderful, really, really. I hope so. Yes, I want to highlight the inspiratory vocal fry through the nose because it's very, very, very important and it's very useful, as I told before, to because it's almost silent. If you do
Mm.
it's almost silent. So nobody can detect it, nobody can hear it, nobody can see it because your face uh, is normal, and it's very useful. And for some people, it is a facilitating technique to learn to do inspiratory vocal fry.
And it gives you a hydrated, so you can have a gauze through the mouth or get 100% hydrated air. Yes, and even
Yes,
during teaching, right? When I'm tired, I'll go, okay,
of
turn to the
course.
next page, right? Oh my goodness. Do we have one question? And again, we understand if others have to leave, but if you have 5 minutes extra, we can go over. And if we have one, oh boy, the chat. Now, Corinne, I
I'm
need help
on the
here.
chat. It seems that I
Okay.
just wanted to pass along, Elisabetta, you're getting so many positive vibes from Linda
Thank
Foy.
you.
Really interesting technique and research. Congratulations. Hand clapping from Lauren Martin Bielsa. Amazing. Thank you from
Thank
Chiara
you.
Stella. Thank you for sharing. It's amazing from you, May. And Kelly, is this a question? I'd love to hear your experiences of using this with lesions and or dysphonias. Could this be helpful with a student who is suffering from lesions due to gastric reflux? So do you have any comment on that?
Yes, I comment that gastric reflux is a very bad beast. So I think that there is no exercise that can be really, really, really effective on gastric reflux um, uh, inflammation. But uh, of course, if you use it to give some lightness to the system, I think that it could help. I think so, but not to reduce the inflammation due to the reflux.
Reflux, right, right. What? You're right, a beast. But
Mm.
the compensatory behaviors of maybe it would help stop the constriction, and get them out of that behavior. But you're right. Very complex.
Thank you, Kelly. And one final question from Jeffrey. Welcome, Jeffrey. I've tried this with helping some students reach high larynx position, but I'm not sure if that might be inadvisable for some reason that he's not aware of. Do you have any experience or knowledge of this type of application? So I guess, Jeffrey, does that mean performing this exercise in a high larynx versus mid or low?
Yeah, like helping people get like the crazy, crazy high notes. It's like been effective, but I don't know if
Oh, okay,
yeah.
okay. Sorry, I didn't understand. Um, so yes, I think it can help because of the contraction of the cricothyroid muscles too. So yes, it can help in reaching high notes, maybe. But sometimes it is used in inspiratory phonation is used to make screams, very high screams, very high notes. I don't know if you call it screams, but for screamers, I know in the years I've known that very often they use inspiratory phonation.
And yes, on fry, right on our slack fold, on our thin, stiff, thick. It's very fascinating, and as you know, we do have some endoscopy of them with our Estel body cover figures. and we get similar results. I have so many questions, Elisabetta. We have to continue the discussion. And I would just like to take a teaching moment, everybody. Elisabetta, you know about using, some people do use expiratory vocal fry for therapeutic relaxation. And that's why I like to use our voice print. You can see the difference between constricted, if you don't have endoscopy, constricted slack versus mid or retract by the view on the voice print. So I would love to, again, collaborate, continue the discussion, but it was an award-winning paper. Today was an award-winning presentation, Elisabetta.
No,
It was so interesting.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I would be pleased to go on, surely.
Grazie.
Grazie a te. Thanks to all of you. Thanks for showing up. I appreciate it so much. I'm sorry for my English, but I hope that I made it clear.
Very clear. And we hope that everyone joins us for our next research report in January with Dr. Zhang, which will also continue the discussion on modeling false vocal fold oscillation. And it's all coming together. And again, thank you, everybody. Corinne, I always forget something, but I'm not going to forget. See you in Vienna, I hope, because we do have so many interesting discussions to continue. And in person, please, if you're comfortable. But it would be wonderful to give everyone a voice hug. And thank you very much. Did I forget anything, Corinne?
Yeah, the faces that are still alive. I took a pic, but people weren't smiling. So if your face is live, give a good smile. I'm going to take a group pic, for that summary email that Carter will send everybody with the video. This is video. So Carter, you can shut the video off now.